Hello again, friends, and welcome to a special Side Jobs edition of 151. My name is Adam. I'm usually joined by a man named Justin, but he fell down and possibly destroyed his rib cage. I'm not joking. That actually really happened. We'll tell you more about that here in a second. I don't know what my guest just said, but ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line is Mike Reyes. That's what it said.
Did you mute me? Is that what happened?
No, you lean forward and you're like...
Well, usually when one is closer to the mic, it means you can hear them better.
No, it looked like you leaned forward. I thought you were talking to somebody else and it didn't pick up real well. Anyways, this is 151. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at 151 The Show. We are on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and just about damn near every podcast channel there ever could be. There's so many of them.
If there is an NPR podcast, you can find us.
There's a few that they'll pop up. Like I did a search one time for 151 The Show, and like it showed up on Castbox and Deezer and some of these other ones. I'm like, I've never heard of you, but okay, cool. Anywho, if you missed any of that, head over to the website, 151theshow.com or this station's website.com. As I said, tonight I'm being joined by Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend.com, who seems to be becoming just a regular on the show now, but that's okay.
That is perfectly fine with me. You guys wanna bring me on? I'll come on. Why not?
Just so you can get one more place to try and get those credentials for those big movie premieres.
It's not even the premieres, man. It's just like it's one of those things where basically it's a big step in being a professional critic, and it's like access to screeners and access to Q&As, which basically helps me do my job better on the radio show, because then I get to actually see movies instead of coming up a week and it's like, well, I didn't have any screeners this week, so I guess you're gonna just talk about me. Like I already the reason we had a movie to talk about this week is because I have Apple credentials, which means when Apple stuff comes on, they usually add it to their press portal. Yeah. So it's really helpful, because if you don't have a subscription to Apple TV Plus, you go in there and you just can rewatch or watch most of the stuff you keep on there. That's going to be helpful.
Well, good. Well, Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend.com is joining me right now. As I said, going back to Justin for a second, truth be told, we're recording this on January 28th. I believe it was Saturday or Sunday this past weekend. Justin and I were actually going to do a show. I texted him late in the afternoon. I go, hey, man, are we still on for tonight? And he writes back, no, fell down out in the snow on the ice and stuff. And he messed up his ribs to the point, like today, he was finally getting back to me. And I don't want it to seem like I'm mad at him or anything. It was like, dude, take your time, feel better, and try not to laugh at anything, right? He writes me today, and he's like, I'm on drugs.
Well, at least he wasn't laughing about it. You can laugh about it easily. You didn't hurt a rib.
Oh, he would if I did that. Like he laughs at me about my knee when I blew that out and all of that. So, anyways, as we dive into the show tonight, we don't really have. And this is another time and this is something I stress to like people when they ask me about podcasting. I'm like, have a plan when you go into it. Discuss the things that you think you're going to talk about. And we have zero plan tonight. We're just, we're flipping the bird to the plan and just going to have some fun and talk about the that's going on around us. So real quick, though, to Justin, we wish you the best and speedy recovery.
Please don't hurt yourself again.
Oh, I don't want to say I'm knocking on wood right now because my luck.
Your bookie on Prime, okay?
Dude, I am not in my prime anymore. Jesus, we had like a historic snowstorm roll through earlier this week.
What?
Yeah, it was one of the ones where like even the weather report that comes up and it's like, hey, these are the conditions. This is when it's going to hit and all this kind of stuff. It goes, this is a historic snowstorm that only happens like once every 15 to 20 years. Then it's going to be like a foot of snow coming down.
So basically one of those storms that they kind of gin up for like if this would be a Bill Paxton movie in the 90s.
Maybe, possibly. I mean, we only got here in Ankeny, Iowa, where I live. I want to say we were at it was maybe a foot of snow all at once, but it was really, really light snow. It wasn't like it was heavy or anything, but I did clear my driveway 4 times. So
yeah, I thought I saw that on Facebook. Like, I thought I saw you and the young one standing by
Yep.
the shovel. Like, that was probably the first time where it's like, yay, Dad, you did so awesome. And you're like, yeah, dude, let's hope I don't have to do that again 3 times later.
What's funny is, like, I'm the
That
one
wasn't
who
even
I have let my driveway get completely filled up, right? Where there's a like a metric ton of snow, and it's harder to do it when there's a ton of it, even with a snowblower. So I'll go out and I'll do it like I'll let it get to about 4 inches, clear the driveway. Let it get up to about 4 inches, clear the driveway. My neighbor across the street, his name's Dennis. He's a hell of a nice guy. He's really cool. He let it just all pile up. And the other morning, we're sitting there, and I told the kid, I'm like, Jace, go look at the window. And here comes Dennis and his with his snowblower just shooting it. And he doesn't worry about like blowing it in other people's yards or anything like that. It's just like, you, I'm clearing my driveway.
no regrets.
But no, he's good people. But yeah, they I don't know where we were really going with that. But yeah, we had a ton of snow this week. We're supposed to get more coming up on Saturdays. So talking about the weather now on a podcast that nobody knows where Iowa is. Let me ask you this. Is weather a big deal in New Jersey? Like, do people like...
Oh yeah.
Okay, because that's the same
Have
thing
you
here.
never seen the bread and milk video?
No. The what?
Okay. All right. So there is okay, so what are some of the essentials you get when there's a huge snowstorm? Bread and milk.
Yeah.
There is a comedian by the name of Vic DiBietto. He is a Jersey local. And anybody who's from the Jersey area, if you're in the Point Pleasant area, you drive by Uncle Vinny's comedy shop, his face is right in the window.
Yeah.
So this guy went viral a couple of years ago because he started this video where he's just running out of his house like, I gotta get the bread and milk. I gotta get the bread and milk. I'll shoot you a link in the chat. But
Okay.
this guy, it's hysterical. And he's done like a whole bunch of other videos since then. I think he does the comedy circuit around here, like he does Stress Factory, Uncle Vinny's, I think.
Okay.
He's a stitch. And there's another one that he does where it's all about like Italian families, and he's naming the different coffee creamers, and he's like, we got French vanilla, we got biscotti, we got your sister's. Like, I will send you both of those. You will appreciate them. But yeah, weather is a deal here because, well, you know, like back in 2012, it's almost been 10 years since Superstorm Sandy.
Oh, yeah.
Gigantic hurricane that totally us up.
What is that the worst storm you've ever been in?
I think, yeah, that was one of the worst. There was that. There was the blizzard of 94, I want to say. Like, there was 96, the blizzard of 96.
Okay.
Like, those are the hugest storms I can remember being involved with. Because I remember we were driving, my dad being my dad and being kind of fun. I was still living with my parents at the time. We go out for a drive up Route 9, which is one of our big main arteries.
And you're in New Jersey, for all those people listening at home.
And it's storming, and transformers are blowing out. And we're just watching in awe. And obviously a corner of you was thinking, are we going to get home alive?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, whoa, that transformer just went like sparks going and everything.
Oh, wow. You know what? I'll tell you this. I've been in some bad winter storms. I've driven in a snow squall before. That was hell.
That sounds like hell. That sounds like something you get tickets for.
Like the amount of time it takes. I was in Knoxville, Iowa, which is about an hour or so away from where I'm at, and it was a legit 4-hour drive home that night. And I'd never driven in a snow squall before, but that was crazy. But I'll tell you this, the worst storm I've ever been in was that damn derecho earlier this year, where the tree fell on my house.
Oh yeah, that storm.
You know what? What's crazy? I'm just kind of thinking about it. We made weather interesting for about 5 minutes there.
I know, right? Like, look, you can podcast anything. You can podcast anything as long as you make it interesting.
Yeah. Well,
and it's great. That's why it's kind of cool with the world of everybody basically has their thing. Everybody's an expert about something, or can at least sound like they're an expert about something. That's all you need.
I'll say this about podcasting. I think people need to, I'm trying to think of a way to say this without sounding like a dickhead.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear this.
Well, if you think about the world of podcasting, there's a podcast for everything, right? Sports, movies, TV, politics, sex, anything you can put a name on, there's a podcast for. And I think a lot of podcasts out there, they don't know who their audience is. They don't know what they're trying to sell. Because if I'm looking for a sports podcast, I want a sports podcast.
Well, yeah.
That's the thing, like where I think people say they're a sports podcast, but then all of a sudden they are talking about, the finer points of Star Trek, and it's like,
True.
I'm not here for that. I want sports. So I think there's a lot of podcasts that they don't find that Goldilocks zone of being narrow enough that people know what they're there for.
That's why I have such a hard time trying to get my own background, because I want to do a podcast. I want to do a vlog. Yeah. But the two things that always seem to hamstring me are, I don't think I have a good enough camera because I'm just using the laptop at this point.
Yeah.
And I just don't know, like, a scope of a show.
Yeah.
Like, I don't just want to, I mean, even if I just wanted to go up and say, okay, I'm just doing, the Mike Reyes show, the Mike Reyes cast or something. Yeah. Part of me, it hits at my head. It's like, okay, if you don't have a plan for what you're going to talk about and it's just you, what are you going to do? Like, if I have a co-host or something, that might be... Yeah. That's something where you're like just talking with a friend, like the conversation kind of guides itself.
Yeah.
But if you're just talking on your own, it's like, okay, I need to prepare something. I need to know what I'm talking about. I need to make sure I know enough about it to talk about it and not have 20 million people on Twitter saying you're wrong. And it just kind of, I hate it because I think I would do good in that space, judging by how we've done so well together.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's that gate. There's like that gate that either needs to be opened or vaulted over.
I completely get you. And it is a matter of finding that Goldilocks zone of, hey, we're broad enough that people can be welcomed in, but they know what they're going to get. And truth be told, I think this show 151 has evolved where it started out where it was, listen, it's always going to have roots in nerdom and talking Star Wars and talking Star Trek and talking, movies and TV and, all of that stuff. But I think it's also expanded to where it's conversation. I mean, we spent 5 minutes on the weather a little bit ago,
Yeah.
So,
and you see, that's another great thing about podcasts is there is the freedom of, if you don't want to have something specific and you're comfortable with that, you can just do it.
No.
Like, we just threw in weather. We're going to probably jump into stocks at some point. I mean, if we want to focus, we could just say that we're a newscast. But if we just want to around and jump into Star Trek versus Battlestar Galactica ship battles, we can do that.
Now, the thing about it is, and for those of you that are listening, I've worked in radio for almost 20 years, okay? And the biggest difference between podcasting and radio is, and especially doing like a morning show, like a talk show or something, is you have to be topical. It's the GameStop story. It's the Godzilla vs. Kong trailer that we'll probably get to. You can't just go through and be like, hey, let's talk about the weather, or hey, let's rank the Star Trek movies.
And you'd be talking about all that stuff the day it happens.
Exactly.
And if you want to throw some of that other stuff in there, it's just kind of, okay, we need to stretch. We need to fill. So it's like, you can't really do a deep dive, but okay, we have time to kill. Let's talk about this.
That's something that we ran into early on, is if you're not doing a podcast, like we try and do about 2 shows a month because of just, behind the scenes stuff. That's the account we have and blah, 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 blah. When we first started, it was like, hey, let's review Captain America Civil War. At the time, that's really cool. Hey, that's topical and all of that. But when you look at it from the long game, and this is where you get into some of the radio terminology and stuff, it's not an evergreen topic.
Well, that's just journalism terminology too.
Yeah, it's not a topic that will keep forever. It's like at some point, people are going to get tired of hearing about Captain America Civil War. I mean, we've ended Phase 4 by now. It's years old. So,
but if you want to resurrect that subject, you have to find a hook. Like, WandaVision, Wanda's relationship with Vision, you could say something like how Captain America Civil War perfectly foreshadowed WandaVision's ultimate twist or something.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But it's just, how did we get here?
And the days go by.
We were spinning plates there, then it fell down. It's like, I don't know what the we're talking about, but it's pretty awesome.
versus morning radio focus.
Yeah. No, it's totally different. And as someone that's worked in radio for a very long time, listen, I love talking behind a mic. I love creating content. I love doing it. Doing radio is much different than doing podcasting. And I'll tell you this, there's a lot of people out there that try and talk behind a mic that you're really not good at it. And truthfully, that's because you've never been air checked. What I'm talking about, like when you sit down and do an air check, for the people that don't know what an air check is, that's where there's an air check machine and it doesn't matter what it is. If it's just, an MP3, or when I started, it was cassettes, it's been reel to reel, and everything in between. Anyways, it's where you sit down and you listen to every break from your show. That's the long and short of it. And then your boss looks across the table at you and goes, "What did you like?" And then you have to talk about the things you liked. What didn't you like? And then you have to talk about the things you don't like. See, Ryan Patrick, who's been on this show, has taught me a lot about radio. Ryan always made you understand why you were doing certain things. And to tie this back to the point, it basically comes down to, I think there's some podcasters that they don't know who their audience is. They don't know what they want to talk about. They don't know how to show prep right. And the other thing is they don't want to edit. They don't want to take the time to go through and edit this. I can promise you right now that this is going to be edited. It's going to be cleaned up. Mike, there was a lady on a podcast thing that she goes, "I have a 3-hour interview." A 3-hour interview. And
a 3-hour interview.
Yeah. It was probably about the same. Anyways, she goes, "I don't know whether or not I should just put it up as a 3-hour interview or if I should split it in, 2 and make 2 shows out of it." And I'm like, "Have you edited it yet?" And she goes, "No, I don't need to edit it."
That reminds me of Mitch. I think it was Mitch Hedberg that said it. It was a comedian, but I think it was might have been Mitch Hedberg, or I forget who said it, but someone in the comedy world said, if someone writes for 30 minutes and says, "I have a 30-minute stand-up routine," they're lying.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
So, and I will say this, I don't want this to sound like I'm coming down on the podcast community, because that's not what I'm on. There's people out there that are just naturally good on a mic. I'll give you Justin. I really lucked out where everything I could do behind a microphone has come with years of practice. And years of, when I started, was not a natural behind the microphone by any stretch of the imagination. It was, "Hey everybody, I'm, blah, 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 a radio voice, and I'm trying to be cooler than I know I am." Over time, it's like, this is who I am. This is.
Any sort of art, because you, like, even in writing, you sit there and you write, and it's like, this is what I think writing is supposed to sound like. It is important. It is bold. It is avuncular. I use these words. And then eventually you do it enough that it just gets to that point where it's like, okay, that's a crutch. I'm not using that word. I've used that word too much. That synonym's even better. And then it just eventually is like, okay, this is me talking here. I have a name. I have a brand. I do not have to impress anyone. I just need to and maybe improve. Not impress, but improve.
There was an air check that Ryan, who's been on this show before, Ryan Patrick, who used to be my boss, who really did teach me so much about radio, that it really is an art form and not just a job type stuff, right? He called me into his office one time, and I forget what it was, but there was something I kept saying on the air. And he goes, "If you say it again, you're off the air." And I kind of looked at him, he goes, "I never want to hear you say that again." So I went back down to the studio, and on my laptop, I put a big note in big letters, "Don't say."
Yeah.
So.
Like something that I picked up on something, I think it was my wife that picked up on it because she was home. I think I was doing a video test. Like, I was fooling around my computer, recording a video because I was planning, like, okay, I'm going to put this video up that says, "Hey, I'm doing videos now."
Yeah. And
then I asked her, so what do you think? She's like, "You said now a lot." So now every time it's like, no, stop. And especially in interviews. Like, I know they don't show all of my interviews, but I try not to use that word too much because, if I'm lucky one day and they do happen to use like a whole reel's worth of interviews again.
Yeah.
They won't have all that now to cut out.
That's why we edit, people. This is 151. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at 151 The Show. We are on Podbean.
Editors.
Yes, really. And if you don't know how to edit, learn. Get on YouTube and learn how to edit audio. It's going to be the best thing that ever happens to your podcast. And I like how this podcast has become a self-help for podcasting. Anyways, we're on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, and so many other channels. Please like, follow, and share. Don't forget, we've got a YouTube page as well. We'd love it if you would subscribe and share the videos there. All right, so let's get to more of the entertainment news and what 151 is actually based on. That was a good conversation, Mike. That was fun.
It is.
Let's get to some of the stuff that's going on. The big one that you were really excited about, we talked about this actually on the radio show earlier today. But Godzilla,
which you guys should totally be listening to.
Yes.
If you like 151, you'll love our KGGO show, and if you love the KGGO show, you'll love 151. It's two great tastes that go great together.
There you go. It's like Reese's. It's chocolate and peanut butter, or the Whoozy What's It, the new candy bar that's coming out.
The Whoozy What's It?
So they're, whatchamacallit?
Yeah.
They're making a candy bar that's called a Whoozy What's It, and it's supposed to come out next month. Trailer came out this past Sunday. And I don't know if I've mentioned it on this show. I know on the radio show I have, but I'm not. It's just not my movies. The trailer was great. It really was. It was interesting. Is the whole movie going to be like that? I'm not utterly convinced, but maybe.
I'm certainly hoping so. I mean, all right, just as far as the track record with the monster, it's called the Monsterverse.
Yeah.
So the track record that I've had so far is I loved 2014 Godzilla. It was pretty good, pretty serious. And then
real quick, that movie that has one of the best lighting effects I've ever seen when he's getting ready to do the breath for the atomic breath for the first time, and it goes. You can see it in the smoke, and it trails up his back and stuff. I was like, oh, that's cool.
My youngest brother, who's been a Godzilla fan for years, like he played a lot of the games on GameCube and PlayStation, and then he eventually went on to watch the movies. His face lights up when we see that for the first time. Like when I took him to see the movie for the first time, I looked over at him when that was happening because I knew I'd seen it before, and I was like, I know he's gonna love this.
Yeah.
So I look over at him, and he just has this look of joy, or like he just had this look of excitement, and it's just like, oh, this is what it's all about.
Oh.
And plus, it is just one of those moments where it's like, no.
Was that the one with submarine? They find it in the jungle?
No,
is that the next one?
I think that was King of the Monsters, which I liked. I think the human story had more problems and it wasn't as interesting.
Okay.
And it's a little bit the color palette to the movie is a little bit darker and kind of washed out if you're watching it in less than ideal circumstances.
How many of those movies are there? There's 3?
3 so far, because there's Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, which is awesome.
Okay.
And then Godzilla King of the Monsters. So now Godzilla versus Kong is the 4th one.
Who did he fight in it was the 2 twin things in the first one, right? The 2 bugs or something?
They were called Mutos. They weren't like any they weren't any licensed creatures. They were just
Okay. That's part of my issue with these movies is they're not memorable to me other than, hey, big lizard shooting out of its mouth. And yes, roll your condescending eyes at me a little bit more.
Please tell me how much you love Star Trek Insurrection and why it shows Picard's human side and it's more of a moral dilemma.
Insurrection.
Yeah, that movie. And the fact that anytime you say that, people look at you worried.
It's
like,
when have I ever said I love Insurrection?
It was more of a facetious argument that I was hoping kind of panned out because you're a pretentious sometimes, but
I was gonna say, I'm like, I don't love that. That movie is a great 2-part episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
That's as good as it was, and not even a great 2-part episode. It's like Gambit.
See, I don't even know that one. So
from the I want to say the 7th season. Anyways, so go back to when is this movie supposed to come out? Godzilla vs. Kong?
March 31st. It will be in theaters and on HBO Max for for 30 or 31 days before it goes straight back to theaters.
Okay.
So you'll have that's Warner Brothers' plan this year. Is every Warner Brothers movie this year, now that they've gone through the negotiations with Legendary, every movie that they have planned for this year is going to be theatrical, and then for only the first month they'll have it on HBO Max to watch at the same time.
How did Wonder Woman do like that? Did it bring in any money? Was it successful in the way they wanted it to be successful?
Well, supposedly it did. Let me look up the statistics because I think we just wrote about this on CinemaBlend today, that it brought in a whole bunch of subscribers. See, that's another thing that is going to be very interesting to try and gauge in this sort of brave new world.
Yeah.
Is that streaming success is very different from normal box office success.
I'm glad that they're doing something like I see what they're doing where it's like, hey, we in this new weird world of COVID pandemic and just weirdness that we're living in right now, we have to bring in money.
Yeah.
But
eventually people have to get their slates clean because you can't keep
yeah.
It depends on who you are, because some studios are more reticent to put their stuff online because they can afford to wait.
Yeah.
Just look at what Disney's doing. Disney can afford, because they have so much money, they can afford to push certain movies. Like Free Guy is pushed into, I don't know if Free Guy got pushed again. I think Death on the Nile got pushed again. Kingsman got pushed again. Like all these different movies are getting, in some cases, like No Time to Die, it's not a question of can we afford it. It's, look, we can't really afford to go to streaming, because if we can't make the right amount of money in a sale, we're losing so much money that this franchise will be in trouble. Because you look at that movie, I think they said it cost $250 million to make, and roughly, if you're going by like Spectre numbers, they needed to make $650 to break even with that movie, and they ended up making about $868, $870, I think. So they made a profit on that. That was theatrical. There's not a lot of market share in home video right now or streaming, unless you put your movie out for PVOD rental at like $20 a pop, like Universal does, or you have your own streaming service and you use your content to lure people in.
Which, see, that's why I go back to. It's like, that's why I'm wondering, was it successful? Because like Wonder Woman, I'm not buying HBO Max for Wonder Woman. And just to, kind of finish that point, like Godzilla, I'm not gonna do I'm not gonna buy it just for that. What's up?
The thing is, this is something that we were sort of kicking around in our work chat, and I agree with this question. Are people signing up for HBO Max just for Wonder Woman? Or are they signing up for HBO Max because Warner Brothers announced all of 2021's movies are going to go to HBO Max, and not only did they stop offering free trials, they're now letting people prepay 6-month periods at a discount. I've got their subscriber numbers too.
Yeah, I could see the 6-month thing.
Yeah, because all right, you're gonna pay. Yeah,
I mean, you got to kind of look at this from a different. You know what? I'm going to change kind of my opinion on this, because I kind of realized something. You can't look at this from the regular thing of, just Wonder Woman. Is Wonder Woman enough or Godzilla enough for me to buy it? No, it's just not. But a 6 months 6 months discounted. And maybe you have like one or two other good movies, or like a series or something on there. Maybe that's enough to make it worth my while. Is brand new movie A or B or C enough to get me? No, it's everything else.
If it's the right movie, maybe. It has to be something like if Disney decided, okay, we're totally putting Black Widow on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Then it becomes a question of then again, that is kind of what Warner Brothers did with Wonder Woman. And from what I'm reading here, according to their quarterly earnings report, HBO Max increased from 8.6 million subscribers the previous quarter to 17.2 this quarter.
You know what, though? You think about it. How much is HBO Max a month?
HBO Max a month is $15, and that's roughly what you're paying with a cable package. Because I have a cable package that I need to get rid of. I don't really use cable that much. My wife, I switched over to AT&T with my wife because she had AT&T.
Yeah.
And then when we switched over, they're like, oh, wow, you haven't changed your plan in a while. So what we're going to do is there's an unlimited plan for X amount. oh, HBO Max is thrown in there. And we're like, what is it, like a free trial or something? Like a year? They're like, no, for as long as you're with AT&T, you get HBO Max.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And that blows everyone else out of the water because Verizon only gave you they only gave their new cable subscribers a year of Disney Plus, and then they had to pay for it on their own. And they wouldn't do it with their existing subscribers, which is another reason I'm dumping because I hate when cable companies do those stupid things where it's like, oh, if you're a new subscriber, here's this cool rate. But I'm a loyal customer, and I've been with you for 5 years. Why aren't you giving me that rate?
I've always wondered that. I really have. It's like, and maybe there's somebody that works with a cable company out there that's listening to this right now and can answer this question. But why do you your loyal customers? And this isn't just, the company you mentioned. It's every single one. It's like, hey, I've been with you for 3 years. You've raised my rate every single year, but you're willing to give the new guy over here a package that's $50 cheaper a month than mine. He has not stuck with you for years. I have. Why? Well, me, I guess.
Yeah. So if you let's say you jump in on that 6 window for HBO Max. Let's say when Wonder Woman premiered, so that's the end of December.
Yeah.
The movies you would be getting are The Little Things, which comes out this weekend with Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto.
Okay.
Judah Messiah, which looks absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful in a brutal sort of way. Tom and Jerry, Godzilla vs. Kong, Mortal Kombat, and I think, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do, In the Heights, right up to that. So right up to In the Heights, which premieres June 18th. So yeah, 6 months from December 24th. That's about where it gets you. But the next month after that, what's their first release? Space Jam: A New Legacy, which a whole bunch of people are going to want to see.
Yeah.
And then Suicide Squad after that, the Sopranos prequel movie, The Many Saints of Newark. That's an incentive to go for another 6 months because then we're only into, August with that. And the new Matrix. You'd be covered up into the new Matrix movie.
Well, what I was just thinking is if HBO, and this is where I'm looking at it, I'm like, you'd almost be stupid not to, with all these movies coming, and not just a Wonder Woman or a Godzilla, but, everything you said. For me to go to a theater to see any one of those movies, it's at least $15, right?
Yeah, $15 per. Yeah, $15 per person. Let's say. Let's go by
And that's without snacks or anything else. That's $15. But if you're telling me that I can get all the new movies in my house for $15 a month, you know what? I hope they never go back to theaters.
Okay, all right. So let's now that you've mentioned that, let's do a little bit of, and I can't believe I'm going to say this because I fucking hate this subject. Let's do some math. Now, HBO Max, the total discounted price, because they're doing save 20% for 6 months when you prepay.
Okay.
The prepaid price with the prepaid discount is $69.99 plus applicable tax.
Okay.
You get $70 for that. Let's count how many movies we've got using that rate from Wonder Woman. So we got Wonder Woman, The Little Things, Judas and the Black Messiah, Tom and Jerry, Godzilla vs. Kong, Mortal Kombat, Conjuring, In the Heights. So that's your 6 months right there. That's 8 movies.
Okay.
So what we'll do is $69.99 divided by 8. And this is without taxes. That's roughly $8.75 for $8.75 per movie.
I think the long and short of this is it's a really when you work it out in your head, and now that I'm kind of looking at it, I'm like, you know what? I'm a fool to not buy HBO Max.
That was 8 movies, I said, right?
Yeah.
All right, so 8 movies at $15 a ticket is $120.
Yeah.
If you're like me and you can write it off, that's fine.
Yeah.
But there is another thing to be considered when theaters open back up. If you have AMC by you do the AMC Stubs membership for $25 a month, you get 3 movies a week.
Yeah.
So you're getting 12 movies in a movie theater for $25 plus tax.
Yeah. Listen, and we've had the discussion maybe when you were on here one of the last times, but about theater versus home and stuff. And you know what? Now it's starting to look like, HBO Max, you keep putting all them Warner Brothers movies on here. I'm just fine seeing them at home, especially now that I mounted my TV on the wall. Well, you think about it like me and the kid, the last movie we went and saw was Sonic, right? And we went to the
Ooh,
theater.
wow.
Yeah, that's how long it's been since I've been to a movie was Sonic, and that's the last movie I saw. But anyways,
That's on Hulu this month.
yeah, I know, right? Well, the other day I was freaking out. I'm like, oh, TBS is playing Endgame. That's how long ago that was. But
Oh yeah, because now they've got that in Infinity War, and I put a pin in that. There's something funny I got to bring up with that
okay.
when we're done with the thread here.
But anyways, going back to it, I mean, you look at me and the kid going to the theater in town that has like the kids' theater with the playground, and each of us getting a drink and a big bucket of popcorn and him a thing of candy. I mean, it was damn close to almost $100 to see a matinee for a movie that he barely paid attention to. And listen, don't get me wrong, I love the theater experience. I love going. That's one of the things I miss most since we got into the weird times in the before four. I really love going to the movie theater, but you know what? Paying for new movies at home, not a huge deal to me, especially if it's cheaper.
Well, yeah, but then you have to take into account that not everybody's doing that with their movies. Universal could have very easily said, "Fuck you," and went straight to Peacock with their movies, because Peacock is probably is probably like in the back end of streaming services. I mean, now that Quibi's out of the way, it's a question of who goes first, Peacock or Apple TV Plus.
Yeah. That's the only bad thing. Like some of the channels, like Apple Plus, I don't have that, so I'm missing.
Well, yeah,
I'm missing out on like that Tom Hanks movie that came out, and a few other.
Yeah, but you know what? Even as someone with access to the press site, it is a pain in the ass, because you need to have either Apple Tech or you need to plug your computer into the HDMI output and use your computer to bring it up and do all that shit. Either that or watch it on your computer. I was watching Palmer on my computer today.
I got you.
Because it's like, I really don't feel like plugging it into the fucking TV. I wanted to actually try and get some work done while I was watching it, and then it's like, no, you know what? Watch the movie.
Anyways, this is 151. You can find us on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play, YouTube as well. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at 151 The Show. Getting a little long in the tooth. What was your last thing you wanted to cover real quick?
So when TNT they got the rights to Captain Marvel, because they're still doing certain movies from the MCU. Because I think it was like up to a certain point they had an agreement with Disney where it's like, hey, you're going to basic cable, that's cool, comes over here.
Yeah.
Because the pipeline used to be, goes into theaters, goes to Stars for pay cable, goes to Netflix for streaming, and goes to like TBS, TNT, the Warner family of cable channels for broadcast. But then when Disney Plus came out, and it was like in the middle of the Star Wars movies, before Disney Plus, in the middle of the Star Wars movies, they decided, okay, we're not doing Stars anymore. Yeah. We're going to Netflix for streaming, and then we'll go to, pay for broadcast. Then Disney Plus comes out, and it's like, we're not doing Netflix anymore. We're just going to go straight to, cable's going to be the thing, but Disney Plus. Although, funny story about that, between now and then the next couple of years, there's going to be movies that go back and forth between the two, because they still have an agreement with Netflix. But anyway, they have Captain Marvel, and they're like, cool, we're going to do a weekend marathon for Captain Marvel. And what movies do you think they programmed for Captain Marvel? What would you program for Captain Marvel, knowing the movies that they show on TNT? Because they have Infinity War.
Yeah.
They have Endgame. They have Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
They have I think they, or no, I don't think they have Age of Ultron, but they have some of the more recent ones.
Yeah, because
that went into Captain Marvel. You do that, right?
Yeah,
That's all DC movies: Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, Batman versus Superman, Justice League, and then they would run them out of order. Oh no, Batman Begins I'm sorry, I don't know if Justice League is in there, but Batman Begins got thrown in there too. So, okay, you're showing DC movies before you're showing a Marvel movie. You throw a DC movie from another continuity in to completely f with people's heads, and then you don't run the DC movies in order. Oh, and by the way, on Sunday night we're premiering Captain Marvel after Wonder Woman, but then we're going to show Batman versus Superman, Justice League, then Man of Steel, not Justice League. So we're going to show Batman versus Superman, then Man of Steel, then Wonder Woman, then Captain Marvel. Then you're going to collapse trying to arrange it in your head.
Oh boy, you know what's funny about that? Going back to the Disney Plus thing. You know how they've got the different like Star Wars and Marvel and all this. Under their Marvel thing, they've got where you can watch it in chronological order. And I always see, Captain Marvel is the second movie, and I'm always like, I don't know if I want to start this.
You really don't need to. You really don't need to watch Captain Marvel, because for as much as they talk that movie up as it's important, it's gonna play into Endgame. It's gonna tie everything together. 90s nostalgia, man, no doubt. Playing crucial fight scene, Kingdom. Anyway, that first phase back when Paramount still owned had the Marvel rights, that worked.
Yeah.
And I like that Marvel has a universe, like a unified home, but ever since it went to Disney, it kind of started to turn into that machine, that money printer. And it's like, okay, cool. Shit that's happening right now probably won't have any long-lasting ramifications, because you're going to just bring everyone back for the tie-in movie.
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. I'll see you at WandaVision, guys. Which is like the most excited I've been about Marvel in a long time.
Oh yeah, we could do, and I want to do another show at some point about WandaVision, because it's going to get dark. I think
we should probably do the whole wrap up when it's done.
Yeah, that it better than is now. Anyways, that's going to do it for tonight. I think we covered a lot of bases here. This is 151 The Show. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at 151 The Show. We are on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, and so many other channels. Thank you so much to Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend.com for filling in for Justin tonight. Mike, we really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Justin, get better. Pay your bookie on time.
There you go. All right, friends, that's going to do it for us. If you missed any of it, head to 151theshow.com, and we will see you next time.